Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to cut through some of the noise
Yeah.
and bring you clarity for navigating, well, this whole thing called life. If you've ever felt that kind of nagging uncertainty, maybe a bit lost or just not sure what's next, then this deep dive is definitely for you.
Absolutely.
Today, we're plunging right into your inner world. We're talking self-awareness,
Yeah.
emotional intelligence, and, how to really evolve.
And our mission really is to arm you with practical insights, stuff you can use, not just to get by, but to actually thrive.
Exactly. We've sifted through a whole stack of sources, psychological research, personal essays, you name it.
And distilled them down into, well, the most impactful bits. Think of it like a shortcut to understanding your own operating system.
Helping you find that clarity when things feel, let's be honest, pretty confusing sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack this, because what we're about to get into, it might just challenge some of the ideas you've picked up about happiness or problems.
Or even what a good life really means.
Right. Get ready to maybe rethink a few things.
Mm-hmm.
So let's kick things off with something most of us try to avoid: discomfort.
Yeah, we're wired to run from it.
Totally. But the sources we looked at suggest intense discomfort isn't always a signal to just stop. Often, it's actually what precedes and necessitates thinking in a way we have never conceived of before.
It's less of a wall, more like a catalyst.
A catalyst, exactly.
And what's fascinating here is how deep this runs historically. I mean, think about our ancestors.
Right.
They weren't exactly lounging around. They developed agriculture, society, medicine because they faced fear, because things were intensely uncomfortable.
It forced innovation.
It did. And in our modern context, it's more cerebral, right? But the deep dive shows if you consciously see life's problems not as roadblocks, but as openings for you to adopt a greater understanding, that's when things shift. You start using the problem to build something better, to thrive.
So discomfort sparks it, but then the real engine is learning how to think.
That's what the sources argue, yeah. That the root of the work of being human is learning how to think.
And it's not just about logic puzzles.
Yeah.
It's deeper.
Much deeper. It's about processing, understanding, creating meaning. And once you have that foundation...
And the other stuff comes, like loving, sharing.
Exactly. Love, share, coexist, tolerate, give, create, and so on. It all stems from that core ability to think well.
It's the launchpad.
And that connects directly to what our sources call our first and most important duty,
Which is?
to actualize the potential we were born with, both for ourselves and for the world.
Wow. Okay, so it's not about being perfect.
No, not at all. It's about the ongoing process, understanding and growing that capacity to think, to evolve. It's like a personal responsibility, really.
Okay, so developing potential. That brings us to this idea of truth. It's easier looking back, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Seeing a monoculture like Germany in the 30s or America in 1776, you can see what was accepted as good or true then.
Yeah, hindsight makes it clearer.
But the sources say it's way harder to spot our own monoculture right now.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, this raises a really important question. Why are we often blind to our own cultural glasses?
Yeah.
It's because once an idea becomes deeply accepted as truth, you stop seeing it as cultural or subjective.
It just feels normal, like air.
Exactly. You don't question it. And the sources highlight that much of our inner turmoil is the result of conducting a life we don't inherently desire, only because we have accepted an inner narrative of normal and ideal without ever realizing.
Wow, so we're living out scripts we didn't even know we adopted.
Pretty much. And this often comes down to something called naive realism.
Naive realism?
Yeah, it's the basic assumption that we see the world as it actually is.
Like my view is the objective one.
Right. The psychologist David McCraney puts it really bluntly. Everything that's ever happened to you has happened inside your skull.
Okay, that hits home. So my reality is constructed.
Fundamentally, yes. It's a personal construction shaped by your experiences, your brain,
Yeah.
not some absolute truth out there.
And you mentioned the brain. It has limitations, right?
Yeah.
Our sources say it can only perceive what it's known.
Yeah, that's a huge piece of this.
Because it means when we picture the future or decide what we want,
We're often just recreating a solution or an ideal of the past. We're defaulting to the familiar.
so if things don't match that old picture, we feel like we failed.
Exactly. When in reality, we've likely created something better, but foreign, something new.
But our brain flags new as bad or wrong.
Because it's unfamiliar. It prefers the known path, even if it wasn't great.
Okay, so what does this all mean for, like, how we should actually live day to day.
Well, it means that living in the moment isn't a lofty ideal reserved for the Zen and enlightened.
Uh-huh.
It's the only way to live a life that isn't infiltrated with illusions. It's the only thing your brain can actually comprehend.
Because the past is memory and the future is projection.
Right. Both are constructs. The only reality your brain directly experiences right now, and when it's stuck in the past or future, it's running on assumptions, biases.
Like, what kind of biases?
Well, the sources point out a few key ones. There's projection. That's seeing your own stuff reflected outside. The world is not as it is as we are.
Like thinking someone else is angry when actually I'm the one who's irritated.
Exactly that. Then there's extrapolation, assuming things will just keep going as they are now, indefinitely.
Oh yeah, bad day equals bad life forever.
Right, that kind of thinking. And anchoring, that's getting stuck on the first piece of info you got.
Like what your parents told you about the world.
Precisely. That first impression can anchor your viewpoint for years, even if better info comes along later. It's powerful stuff, happening unconsciously.
Those biases really do shape things. It feels like we spend so much energy reacting to illusions. How do we fight back?
Well, awareness is always step one. Just noticing.
Pausing.
Yeah, pausing and asking, okay, wait, is this really objective? Or am I projecting? Am I stuck on an old idea? Creating that little bit of space.
That space between stimulus and response. Okay. Let's shift into our internal landscapes. Emotions, habits, how we see ourselves. This one's tricky. The sources say we sometimes needlessly create problems and crises as a kind of avoidance.
Yeah, it sounds counterintuitive, right? But it's like an avoidance technique.
To dodge vulnerability.
Exactly, to dodge facing uncomfortable truths. The core idea is you're never upset for the reason you think you are. At the core of your desire to create a problem is simply the feel of being who you are and living the life you want.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the drama is a smokescreen.
Often, yeah. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's a classic example of acrasia.
Acrasia. The knowing-doing gap.
That's the one. We all know it. Knowing you should do X, but doing Y instead. Like hitting snooze instead of going to the gym.
Guilty.
Right. That gap between knowing and doing, that's where suffering thrives, according to our sources.
Now, how do we close that gap?
Well, here's a tough truth from the research. You will never be ready for the things that matter. Yeah. Waiting to feel ready before you act, that just makes the gap wider.
So you just have to act anyway.
Pretty much. The suggestion is, it's easier to act your way into a new way of thinking rather than think your way into a new way of acting.
Action first. Interesting.
Small, consistent actions build the bridge.
That idea, the untamed mind, really clicked for me. That feeling of being pulled towards instant gratification.
Yeah, the mind left to its own devices can be a minefield.
Totally. Where anything can convince you to want something you don't really want deep down.
Right.
Like drinks instead of presentation prep.
Exactly. Feels good now, but sabotages the future. An untamed mind is reactive, impulsive.
So the antidote is routine.
That's the argument. Learning to craft routine is the equivalent of learning to let your conscious choices guide you.
Letting the important stuff lead, not the random impulses.
Right. Letting all the other temporary crap fall to the wayside. A lack of routine is just a breeding ground for perpetual procrastination.
And then we mistake fear for meaning something's wrong.
Yeah. We think fear means stop, wrong path, when often it just means you're very invested in the outcome.
It means you care.
Exactly. It's not a stop sign. It's a sign of commitment.
Okay, shifting to emotions. Emotional intelligence, it's described as powerful yet undervalued.
Hugely undervalued.
And it's not about being emotionless, like a robot.
Definitely not. It's about being aware of what they feel, knowing how to express, process, dismantle, and adjust their experience.
Taking the driver's seat with your feelings.
Precisely. Being in control, not controlled by them.
So what do emotionally intelligent people actually do? What are the habits?
Well, the sources list several. First, they know a feeling will not kill them.
That's big.
It is, because all things, even the worst, are transitory. They learn to ride the wave knowing it will pass. It builds resilience.
That gives you permission to just feel it, doesn't it, instead of fighting. What else?
They're discerning about close friends. They don't just become close friends with anyone.
Not guarded, but mindful.
Mindful, yeah. Kind to everyone, but reserving true intimacy and trust for a select few. They get that vulnerability is precious.
Makes sense.
Third, and this is crucial, they do not confuse their opinion of someone for being a fact about them.
Ooh, Explain that.
Instead of saying, he's a prick, they'll say something like, I had a negative experience with him where I felt uncomfortable.
Focusing on your experience, not labeling them.
Exactly. It changes everything. It fosters dialogue, not defensiveness. They also tend to use precise, I feel statements.
Less blaming.
Right. And they practice healthy disassociation. They know the world doesn't revolve around them. They can see another's point of view without making it all about themselves.
And the foundation for all this.
Ultimately, their primary relationship is to themselves. That stable inner core allows for healthy connections outward.
That's powerful. And it ties into how we view uncomfortable feelings, right? They're not enemies.
Not at all. They're guides, messengers.
Our sources list specific uncomfortable feelings that might actually mean you're on the right path, like reliving childhood struggles.
Yeah, sounds bad, but it means you're becoming conscious of old patterns. Now you can actually change them.
Or feeling lost or directionless.
That can mean you're becoming more present, less stuck in old stories about who you should be.
Even left brain fogginess.
Could mean you're tapping more into your right brain intuition, creativity.
And those random influxes of irrational anger or sadness.
That's emotions coming up to be seen, processed, released. Your internal system demanding attention.
So suppression is the real problem.
Absolutely, because numbness isn't feeling nothing, it's feeling everything, and never having learned to process anything at all.
Wow. So emotions have specific messages, like sadness.
Your sadness is saying, I am still attached to something being different. It's pointing to where you need to let go.
And anxiety.
Your anxiety is your resistance to the process. It shows where you're fighting the flow of life.
So the goal isn't to stop feeling these things.
No. The goal is just allowing without judgment. It's about listening. They are how you communicate with yourself.
They're signals.
Exactly. And the core message, the really profound part is, you are not your thoughts, you are not your feelings, you are the being that observes.
The observer. That's where the power is.
That's where your freedom lies.
That observer idea leads to this really vivid thought experiment in the sources.
Ah, the organs on the table.
Yeah. Imagine laying out your heart, your liver, your lungs. You would not look at your heart and think, that is me.
Right. It's my heart, but not me.
So why do we do that with our thoughts, feelings, experiences? Bundle them up and call it I.
Well, connecting this back, knowing who you are is grounding, right? We need some sense of self.
But the problem comes when?
When we assign static words and meanings to what we know we like and value and want, we create these fixed attachments.
And that leads to suffering over self.
Yeah, because we start believing a static idea can represent a dynamic, evolving being, which is impossible.
We set ourselves up to fail our own rigid definitions.
Exactly. So the suggestion is to redefine your sense of self by things that are less fixed, less material. Like being resilient, or hungry for new experiences, or capable of deeply loving others. Qualities, capacities, not rigid labels.
More fluid, more authentic. Okay, let's shift into action, connection, and this idea of radical honesty.
Right, cultivating that fulfilling life.
A key mindset shift, the sources say maybe the single most powerful, liberating thing, is choosing to believe that everything is here to help us.
That shifts you from feeling like a victim of circumstance.
To feeling like you're the creator of your experience, intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation.
Exactly. And society, arguably, often likes to believe it thrives when we are extrinsically motivated, keeps us chasing external validation.
Keeps us small.
That's the argument. When people believe that they are victims, they forfeit their power.
And what about self-control? Is it just willpower?
Not quite. It's a skill you develop, like a muscle. And the sources say wise people don't have infinite willpower.
They're strategic.
They're strategic.
Got it.
They eliminate unnecessary decision-making, reduce distractions, minimize what doesn't matter, and then they focus. They conserve their energy for what counts.
Smart. Okay, so how does all this apply to love and relationships?
Well, the advice to love yourself first comes up strongly.
But what does that really mean?
It's not just bubble baths. It's being stable enough that your mindset doesn't rest in the narrative of supposed others. Having your own solid ground.
So you're not dependent on their view of you.
Right. And realizing you cannot lose people. We can only lose ourselves in an idea of them.
That's huge. The pain isn't always the person, but the lost idea.
The lost identity, the lost future you imagined with them. Yeah.
So how do we build deeper, more real connections?
The sources offer some lovely, simple ideas like spend a Sunday with them. Just quiet time, no pressure.
Not always needing entertainment.
Exactly. Or be comfortably silent on a long drive. Just sharing space.
And talking about the messy stuff.
Yeah, talk about your families and what it was like growing up. See their not ready for company imperfect picture. That's where real intimacy lives.
Seeing the whole person.
And a true soulmate, according to these ideas, isn't someone who completes you, but the one who shows you to yourself. The one who triggers your unhealed stuff so you can see it.
Wow. Love is a mirror.
In a way, yeah. And ultimately, you never lose love. The experience itself, the growth, that's the gift that stays with you.
Okay, let's touch on creativity.
Those
The sources say it's totally innate,
As innate as eating or walking. Being creative is as innate to being human.
like cave paintings.
Exactly.
Mm.
But we've somehow turned it into this luxury item, this thing only talented people do.
When really it's fundamental.
It's fundamental. It's a way of education, communication, and ultimately introspection.
And the best way to approach it.
The sources suggest following the art of Zen meditation, mindfulness, intuition, non-resistance, non-judgment, allowing and not forcing.
Don't overstructure it.
Right. Don't create structure where structure need not be placed. That can kill the flow. And crucially, embrace stillness.
Doing nothing.
Well, what looks like nothing? Idleness is indispensable to the brain for making unexpected connections and getting those wild summer lightning strikes of inspiration.
Permission to stare out the window, granted.
Haha, exactly. It's psychologically vital.
It's funny how modern life pushes against that, yet that's where the insights come from. It reminds me of that phrase, the universe whispers until it screams.
Ah, yes. Listening to your gut.
The importance of that gut voice, which will never go ignored. Ignore the whisper.
And eventually it will project out and eventually turn into big, loud external voices that demand you pay attention. A crisis, basically.
So listen early.
Listen early, because pain serves us. Just like physical pain stops you touching a hot stove.
Emotional pain is signaling something too.
Exactly. Our emotional lives are no different. Suffering happens when we ignore that signal.
So freedom isn't about never feeling bad.
No, negative thoughts and feelings will arise. The key is knowing what to do when those negative thoughts and feelings arise.
Strengthening that mental muscle.
Right. The muscle that will allow you to choose to be happy in spite of them, not become paralyzed when they're present. Observe, understand, choose.
Okay, last big piece. Radical honesty. This feels like a tough one.
It's called the most taboo thing in our culture, in one source.
Yeah, leading to this inability to really coexist authentically. We get offended by trivial things.
While ignoring huge issues.
Yeah.
We police each other's language into comfortable boxes.
So what does radical honesty look like?
Well, interestingly, the sources challenge the idea that putting ourselves first is always selfish.
Awesome.
They point out that sometimes the people who shout the loudest about how others should be are often living lives shaped by doing what other people wanted, and it leads to their own emptiness.
Projecting their own compromises.
Perhaps. So true honesty encourages us to speak precisely and kindly and with understanding but directness.
Kind, but direct. Not brutal honesty.
No, not brutal. Authentic. And it means evaluating your choices, not in light of how other people will perceive them, but how in line with your deepest, truest self they are.
Living your truth, not someone else's script.
That's the core of it. It's about authenticity, not necessarily selfishness in the negative sense.
So, bringing it all together, how should we measure a good life? If not the usual checklist, job, house, etc.
Right. We tend to measure by how well we adhere to trajectories and individual accomplishment.
The external scorecard.
Yeah. But the sources propose something totally different, much more internal.
Which is?
The way to measure a good life is by how much you still want to change it.
Wait, wanting to change means it's good.
Which is proportionate to how much you inherently know it can be better. It shows you're alive, engaged, seeing potential.
Okay, I see. It's a measure of growth potential.
Exactly. You measure it by your capacity to feel discomfort, the extent to which you've questioned yourself, how many times you've changed your mind.
The journey, not the destination.
Pretty much. The series of dogmas you've adopted and left, the family you chose for yourself. It's about the richness of your inner evolution.
Wow. That's a fundamentally different way to look at it. What a deep dive this has been. We've covered so much: embracing discomfort, learning to think, understanding our subjective reality.
Navigating emotions, habits, self-perception, using uncomfortable feelings as guides.
And then cultivating life through motivation, real connection, creativity, honesty, and rethinking that whole measurement idea.
Yeah.
The core message seems to be happiness is a byproduct of doing things that are challenging, meaningful, beautiful, and worthwhile.
Exactly. It's not something you chase directly.
Yeah.
And it's not about finding something out there.
Because,
as the sources put it, you don't find the light, the ability to perceive, because you already are it. The work is getting rid of everything that stands in the way.
clearing the obstacles to your own inner light.
Right. True fulfillment comes from that self-realization, understanding what you truly want and aligning your life with it bravely.
And here's a final thought to leave you with, directly from the sources. You will always have anxiety. You will always feel fear.
They're part of the human package.
The end goal is not to eliminate those feelings, but to strengthen the mental muscle that will allow you to choose to be happy in spite of them.
That resilience piece again.
So, if life doesn't necessarily get easier, but you get smarter, more resilient, what wisdom are you cultivating today,
Right.
right now?
What will your future self thank you for
Something
learning?
to think about.